Hey y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another video, guys. This is going to be the last one that I record for the year of 2024. This is the final video of this year. This is my top 10 books of the year. I thought about doing this video a couple days ago, but decided, you know what, let's wait till the last day of the year and hopefully be one of the last people on here to do this. So without much interruption, let's get into it though, guys. Starting off with a few honorable mentions. This year there were quite a few different books that I think on any other year would have been top five, possibly number one book of the year. There was quite a bit of reading that I did this year. I read a total of 69 books for the year. I even finished one this morning. I initially started the year off wanting to read 36 books. Sorry, guys. English is hard. So I think I definitely surpassed my goal. Again, I say all that to say that any of these books, again, any other year probably would be top 10. Some of them, again, top 5 or number 1 book of the year. But let's get into it though, guys. Just a few honorable mentions here. Starting off number 1 with The Tarner Star by Lewis B. Patton. This was a book that caught me by surprise when I read it, in all honesty. I was coming off of the month that I call a bummer, which was the end of September, because I read American Psycho and Rosemary's Baby back to back, and it kind of took me out of it, kind of bummed me out a little bit, made it so I really didn't even enjoy spooky season this year, guys, which kind of I hate to say, and it's nothing against those books. They did exactly what they were intended to do, which was make me uneasy and get under my skin, and even thinking about some of the stuff that happens in both of those books now still gets under my skin, and it's been a few months, couple months since that happened. So again, guys, Lewis B. Patton, I think, is an author that I need to read more of. Again, The Tarner Star was a great concept. Obviously you have this, you know, younger fellow who comes back home after finding out that his mother has passed away, only to find that his dad, the sheriff, is a drunk and is kind of torn between protecting these new people that have come from out of state and out of the area against these land barons, if you will, higher up people in this town. And it's just a great story. It's definitely got some strong female characters in there and whatnot, particularly one. So again, I really enjoyed the book. It was nice, refreshing take. Made me realize, hey, I need to read some other authors that write Western books other than Louis L'Amour. Next is going to be Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantera. I had really high hopes going into the book, and I think it definitely met and exceeded in some aspects. Again, kind of more of a H.P. Lovecraft supernatural element to like a grown up variation of the Mystery Incorporated group. Again, I really enjoyed it. There were a couple aspects of the book I could have done without, but again, really enjoyed it, kind of getting to see kind of like a cross country trip to reunite these lifelong friends or childhood friends and whatnot, and kind of how the past has had their effect on them now and whatnot. And again, I really enjoyed it. A couple twists in the story that really made it very enjoyable. I really wish the author would come out with a follow up or a sequel. But again, I really enjoyed it. And the last honorable mention, I know there's going to be somebody out there who's going to be like, how is this not in your top 10? Again, great books this year. Really, really great books. The last honorable mention is going to be The Sister Brothers. The Sisters Brother, was one of the first, it was the first, I should say, fellowship read that I did on the channel. I did it with Faceless, and he enjoyed the heck out of it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. More of a modern take on a Western story. This one takes place on the West Coast, and is takes place in Oregon / mid to northern California area. I grew up around that area, so I really enjoyed, reading about that area and whatnot, and just kind of getting to see a more modern take on westerns versus the Louis L'Amour's, Louis B. Patton, from back in like the 70s and 80s. Nothing wrong with them, but just kind of a nice, refreshing take. I'm not gonna lie, I still get a kick out about that scene with the dentist and the toothbrush and whatnot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go read the book. I actually bought the movie because of how much I enjoyed the book, and I need to read or watch that movie, I should say. But again, those are going to be my honorable mentions for this year. Getting into it, number 10, guys. And at one point, this I seriously considered this a contender for book of the year, number one. But so many of these books were really, really good. Number 10, guys, is I Was a Teenage Slasher by Mr. Stephen Graham Jones. This was a book I had super, super high expectations for, especially when I found out that the area that it took place in is around where I'm at. I really, really enjoyed it. You know, small town setting, different take on the slasher genre and how the slasher came to be, and the final girl, and again, just really, really good. You know, edge of your seat story. Mr. Stephen Graham Jones really delivers in his stories, so I was super, super happy with that. Again, I really enjoyed the location, the characters, the ending still gets to me. So again, go pick up that book and give it a try. Number 9, guys, was kind of a sleeper. The more I started thinking about, what my top 10 books of the year was going to be, this one was kind of a sleeper. I honestly, if you had asked me before I started reading it or in the middle of it, I probably said, nah. And then after thinking about it and how much I really, really enjoyed it, I cannot not put it on this list. Number 9 is The Madman and the Professor, the story of how the Oxford English Dictionary came to be. Specifically, how the number one contributor to the Oxford English Dictionary kind of went mad and ended up helping the world with his contributions. I really enjoyed it. It kind of glosses over quite a few years and how, the Madman came to be, starting with it taking place, when he was a kid and then branching all the way up to when he was in the Civil War and whatnot, and why he thought, people were chasing after him and his paranoia. And again, just really, really great book. Really, really great book. I highly recommend reading it. I need to read more nonfiction. That was my only nonfiction book that I read this year, and it made the top 10. And at this point, I'm just rambling. But if anybody out there has any recommendations for kind of a unique, oddball nonfiction book like that, let me know. I need to read more of those. Number 8, guys, is the Ghost Brigades, which was the second book in the Old Man's War trilogy. This took everything that I really liked about book 1 and everything about book 3 and threw it all into one, and it was an action-packed, jam-packed, I hate to say the term and say it on here, but balls to the walls, just crazy, sci-fi, adventure, action book. It really was, great characters. It took one of the big issue that I had with book 1 and book 3, specifically book 1, kind of wrapped it into like a page and a half in there. So again, that was kind of a knock, but I enjoyed reading it so much I didn't want to put it down. And again, just really, really great story. Number 7 is Pacific Vortex. Dirk Pitt, guys, makes the list. I didn't know ahead of the reading the series if I was going to enjoy it, and I'll be damned if I didn't enjoy Pacific Vortex a whole lot. It really set up everything for the series, introduced us to Dirk Pitt. I really, 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 really enjoyed that book. Kind of scratched that itch that I've been having for just kind of like a James Bond-esque character, but more of a regular Joe type of guy. Again, I really, really enjoyed that. Clive Cussler is definitely an author who is working his way to becoming one of my favorite authors of all time. Number 6 is going to be The Western Star by Mr. Craig Johnson. And I want to take a minute here to say, I've had quite a few favorite moments, this year doing the channel. It's been a year since I've started kind of doing this on a regular basis, and probably the biggest moment had to be interviewing Mr. Craig Johnson, and I really appreciate him taking his time again to let me interview him and whatnot. And I really wish that I had waited to do it, though, after reading this book, because I had so many questions for him. I still do, and I hope to meet him in person at some point and ask him about this. But again, this is one I have not reviewed on the channel. I need to, but The Western Star just takes everything that I've loved in the books leading up to it and just crams it all into one book. It's action packed, it's serious, it's got some lighthearted moments. There's a twist in there. He talks a little bit about Agatha Christie. We get to see Walt kind of like a flashback when he's younger on a train with Lucius Conley, where Walt doesn't really have any experience, but he's just back from, Vietnam. And again, just a great, great book all around. Number five, guys, is going to be, sorry, I'm looking at my phone here. Number five is going to be Confessions of a Puppet Master. This is the Charles Band autobiography book, or biography book, if you will. I was lucky enough to get a signed copy from a family member who went to the Texas Frightmare Convention, and I read that book. I've really, really gotten deep into the Full Moon catalog, and I'm hoping to go next year, possibly, I don't know. And I just want to meet Charles and ask him some questions. He definitely delves a lot into his life and doesn't make any excuses for stuff that didn't work out the way he planned. And you could really tell that he definitely cares about his family members, his friends, and whatnot. And we get to hear some stories about actors that are now really big that back then weren't really that big, and we get to find out some behind the scenes stuff about some of the bigger movies like Puppet Masters, the Primioles, just all kinds of stuff. The Gingerbread Man with Gary Busey. I forget what the guy's name is. But again, we get to find out some crazy stuff that happened, and find out about how he knew John Carpenter before John Carpenter did Halloween, and how he heard what the title name was of Halloween when it was the Babysitter Murders, and he didn't think it was going to be that good, but he was filming right down the street. And again, just a whole lot of information there. Great, great book. Number four, guys, is Have a Nice Day by Mick Foley. This was a book I absolutely loved. I loved every second of it, getting to read about Mick Foley, how he kind of came to want to be a wrestler, to his years of struggling, and, just everything that he went through to become a professional wrestler for WCW, WWF at the time, WWE now, and it's just awesome. I really, really enjoyed the book. I love the book so much, as you guys saw, that I went out and found a first edition hardcover copy. So I'm hoping to get it signed by him. I absolutely, positively love that book. It took everything in a book and a biography that I absolutely loved, and it was written by Mick Foley himself. He talks about while writing it and whatnot. And again, I absolutely love that. If you're somebody who you liked wrestling back in the day, you're just now starting to get into it, or you're curious about the kind of behind the scenes of wrestling and what that might take, if you even have an inkling of curiosity, pick up that book. It is a great read. It was a New York Times bestseller for I don't know how many weeks. It's pretty awesome, guys. Now comes to the top three, guys. These ones I've gone back and forth on changing of this and that, and I'm pretty content and pretty happy with the order that I have them in. Starting off with book number three, ranked number three, I should say, that is Riders of the Purple Sage. I read the uncensored, uncut edition. I did pick up the censored and cut edition, and I need to go back and read that. But that book, honestly, is what, from what I understand, is the one that started the Western genre. I can see why it has stood the test of time. It is a book, even thinking back about it now, I want to reread that book. All these books I want to reread. But again, that one, just, there's something about it, there's some action there, but not a whole lot. It's just, again, there's just something magical that he kind of encapsulates in that book. Again, it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed that book. That it easily became one of my favorite Westerns of all time. Again, really enjoyed that book. Number two, guys, is going to be one that I'm honestly not surprised that it's this high up. It was a great book, and that is The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee. Hopefully, if Brian sees this, I hope, Brian, you understand that you are in a elite league here once you hear what number one is. But I put your book above Riders of the Purple Sage. Again, guys, this is an awesome book. It is a classic fantasy with a modern twist on it, a little bit of grimdark. Again, just a book that I enjoyed the hell out of it. It is one that I will definitely go back, and I will definitely reread it in the future. There's no doubt in my mind. I will definitely go back and reread it. Brian is a very down-to-earth guy and whatnot, and that comes across in his writing. And again, just really enjoyed it. You could see, and I talk a little bit about it in the individual book review, but you could see some stuff that Brian liked in other books, and he didn't steal it. He paid homage to it, and he did it in such a unique way that only Brian could do it. Again, I love that book. Thank you so much for writing that book, Brian. It was a pleasure to read it, and I am continuing on with that series. Book one, guys, probably shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. It really shouldn't. Book one was a book that I read in less than a day. I absolutely freaking loved it, and that is Sackett's Land by Louis L'Amour, guys. That was everything that I was wanting in a book rolled into one. Again, was a great book. That, in all honesty, guys, it really is up there for, and it probably has replaced my favorite Louis L'Amour book of all time. Sackett's Land probably is my number one favorite Louis L'Amour book now. I think it has surpassed To Tame a Land. I honestly believe that. It's Barnabas Sackett, unique character, unique setting. We get to explore the world. Again, I really, really enjoyed that book, guys. Go pick it up. It is one you need to read. I think it needs to be on everybody's list to read at one point in time in their life. There's some wisdom to be learned from Barnabas. But as always, guys, I do appreciate every single one of you stopping by and checking out the video. And I want to give a quick thanks to just everybody that I've become friends with on the channel, through the channel. Dustin, Faceless, Hide and Read, Kevin, Graz, Free Indeed, the Big Lamb, just everybody. And there's a couple people that they've come to the channel lately, within the last month or so, month and a half, and I forget the names escaping me, but I do apologize. But thank you so much. Again, this has been a great time doing this, and I can't look forward to see, I look forward to seeing, I should say, what happens in 2025, guys. Again, the channel is going strong. I did take a little bit of a break, but I'm back. Again, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. I hope you guys had a great 2024. I hope you have a great 2025. And just know that videos are still coming, guys. Again, thank you.